The Dark Prince lies on the cold, hard ground of an unfamiliar planet. He lies surrounded by his enemies and pierced in the chest by his most hated enemy. The man who killed his father, destroyed his planet, and annihilated his race. While the Dark Prince has done the same to countless others, this time it's his blood which is spilled. His blood, which lines the sand of a foreign planet. His life's ambition, a mission of retribution, revenge, and atonement for his people, slowly slips from his grasp. He turns to face a man who was once a bitter enemy, but who will now be the last member of his race after his death. He turns to face him to impart upon him the feelings of revenge of an extinct race, the weight of an entire world's expectations, and to impart upon him the dream of a proud Saiyan prince. Vegeta must convince Goku that Freeza is an enemy that he can't show mercy to as he's done in the past. The only problem is that with each word Vegeta utters, his life force diminishes. His death is all but assured. Vegeta cries out to Goku. He begs him, "Forget about your feelings. You have to. They'll get you killed. They'll get you killed, Kakarot." Vegeta grew up in a cruel and harsh world, under the rule of the ruthless tyrant Freeza, in the Saiyan social hierarchy which classifies people's value by their power level at birth. A world characterized by violence and war, where the strong live and the weak die. Feelings and emotion are weakness, and weakness will be exploited by the enemy and will get you killed. Imagine how many times Vegeta had to repeat this mantra to himself as a boy growing up in this kind of world, just to survive. Vegeta continues, relaying to the final Saiyan that Freeza is the one who destroyed their home, killed both of their fathers, and slaughtered their race. He tells him that they are the last two left, and now it's up to Goku. He's the only one left who can see his dream, the final wish of his people to fruition, to overthrow the tyrant Freeza. Goku exclaims that Vegeta needs to stop talking, as each word he utters saps his strength, effectively killing him. In response, Vegeta tightens his fist in anger. Anger that a proud Saiyan prince has to rely on the strength of a bitter rival. Anger over the fact that he can't be the one to avenge his race. Anger over his own weakness. But Vegeta has to continue. He has no choice. And he tells Goku that he must listen. He tells Goku about his past. And the dam breaks inside of him. With death staring him in the eyes, an entire lifetime of emotional repression isn't stronger than the conviction he has to avenge his people. And the tears begin to flow. We worked so hard for him. We did everything he asked of us and more. He took me from my father when I was just a little boy. He made me do whatever he wanted and said he would kill my father if I didn't. I did everything he asked, but he killed him anyway. along with everyone else. He was scared of us, scared that a Super Saiyan would be born someday to rise up and overthrow him. Vegeta cries for the pain he endured at the hands of Freeza. The pain of being isolated and blackmailed at such a young age. The pain of losing everything he loved, despite doing everything and more. Of being helpless to see his race and birthright destroyed right before his very eyes. He cries for the pain of being unable to live up to expectations, of being unable to be the one to avenge your race, to become that Super Saiyan that he so feared, and to overthrow him. And the pain of futility, a complete antithesis to Goku's experience, as Goku has always been able to defend those he loves, but a common theme in the life of Vegeta. That no matter how desperately he wanted something, how strong he was, or how much he trained, in the end it just wasn't enough. Vegeta continues, "Kakarot, please, destroy Freeza. He made me what I am." Vegeta was raised by the battlefield, and the only thing he could rely on, the one thing that remained a constant in his life, was his own strength. He needed to be cold. He needed to be ruthless and uncaring. And he had no choice but to forget about his feelings in order to fight back. And he needed more strength. He needed to become the strongest. In order to defeat Freeza and avenge his people, he needed to become Freeza. Vegeta finishes telling Goku, "Don't let him do it to anyone else. Whatever it takes, stop him, please." And in Vegeta's final moments, he realized just how tormented the life he led truly was. The loss of everything he held dear. The pain from the pressure of the expectations that were placed on him due to his bloodline, and that he had placed on himself. To become that Super Saiyan of legend that would overthrow Freeza and save his people. And when he had lost it all, the pressure to avenge his race, the never-ending quest for power, and its ultimate futility. Vegeta lived a life truly enslaved, both physically by Freeza and mentally by this endless pursuit of strength at all costs. And in his final moments, he realized that he wouldn't wish a fate like this on anyone. Freeza could not be allowed to inflict this fate on anyone else. He needed to be defeated at the hands of a Saiyan. For possibly the first time, the Dark Prince set aside his pride. He displayed weakness in front of his enemies and shed tears for his fallen people, as well as his own weakness. His last words were a plea to his former enemy Goku to do what he so relentlessly worked towards, what he so desperately wanted to do, what he felt he was destined to do, but what he was not strong enough to do. Fast forward to the 25th World Tournament. Seemingly, Vegeta has changed from who he was on Namek. He has fought alongside the Z Fighters, has started a family with Bulma, and has even begun to consider Earth as his home. However, the dark clouds of his past continue to loom over him. The Supreme Kai states that Babidi's magic enables him to harness the evil that exists in the hearts of men and to control their actions. And Dabura senses this very darkness in Vegeta when Vegeta displays his arrogance and anger at Gohan's weakness. Dabura relays this to Babidi, seeing an opportunity for the wizard to further exacerbate the impurity of Vegeta's heart. In the next scene, we see an impatient Vegeta seeking to destroy Babidi's ship. The Supreme Kai deplores Vegeta, reminding him that such an attack could potentially revive Buu. And a revived Buu would effectively mean an end to all life on Earth. However, Vegeta replies, "What happens to this planet is none of my concern. The strong will find a way to survive, and the weaklings will perish." Vegeta illustrates the persistence of the mental framework he has lived under a majority of his life. A framework of survival of the fittest that has manifested in him due to both the inherent nature of Saiyans who value strength above all else, and the slavery under Freeza, in which this very strength was cultivated and was exploited for profit, turning the culture from that of honorable warriors into murderous genocidal conquerors. The following scene depicts Babidi's attempt to place Vegeta under his control. Vegeta is seen struggling heavily, and the Supreme Kai, who can read minds, immediately understands exactly what is going on. He implores Vegeta to fight against Babidi's magic, which seeks to exacerbate the darkness of his heart. The Supreme Kai tells him that he's changed, that he's not the man he used to be. To resist the urge to gain the power to defeat Goku, and to choose himself, to choose his own freedom over the never-ending slavery of seeking to become the strongest. He tells Vegeta to let go, that the past is the past, don't think of it, be innocent and clear. And Vegeta replies, "How can you say that? I'm not innocent." A very potent statement from Vegeta. The darkness of Vegeta's past continues to hold a tight grip on his heart. Vegeta feels that he is not innocent. He simply can't forget that he used to destroy entire civilizations under Freeza. He's killed millions and possibly billions of people. He is far from innocent, and how can he continue to pretend that he is? Living peacefully on Earth as if nothing ever happened, as if he wasn't destined for greatness, destined to overthrow Freeza and to stand at the top of the planet's hierarchy and perhaps even the universe. To pretend as if he was the same as Goku. Vegeta's current struggle represents the war that has been raging in Vegeta's heart over the last 7 years. The mental fissure between the peace he has found on his life on Earth and the weight of the sin of his past. The ambition of a past life. There exists an insurmountable canyon between his current life of tranquility and his Saiyan programming to conquer. Vegeta has lived his entire life in a state of war, such that peace feels foreign to him. Vegeta feels it unnatural. Imagine how sad it is to feel it wrong to live in peace and love. But it is consistent with his words to Goku back on Namek. Vegeta continues to resist. His screams echo and reverberate across the land, down to the very core of the planet. But his persistence proves futile. And the Dark Prince who once died on Namek returns again. Babidi's magic deprives Vegeta of the humanity he had developed on Earth, as he is now willing to kill thousands at the World Tournament, even if Bulma or Trunks were to be caught in the blast. Vegeta's fight with Goku took precedence above all, and for Vegeta, this is more than just a fight. Goku shouts, Answer me, Vegeta. Do you let yourself be a slave? To which Vegeta responds, tell me, is it slavery when you get what you want? The internal struggle within Vegeta, between his conditioning and his humanity, between war and peace, has seemingly boiled over. In this moment, he chooses to return to the slavery of his past. To return to the conflict of the past in order to escape the conflict of the present. To a place where he is most comfortable. Goku trembles with anger. He asks Vegeta if this is one of Babidi's orders, or if this is just about the same old rivalry between them. The Supreme Kai then remarks about how meaningless their petty squabble is when the fate of the universe is at stake, and that's when Vegeta loses it. Gohan and the Supreme Kai simply can't understand. They weren't raised in conflict. They don't have the blood of an extinct warrior race surging through their veins, constantly compelling them to test their strength in order to reaffirm their value and to prove themselves as worthy. For Vegeta, this isn't just about settling an old score, and it's far from meaningless. For Vegeta, this is a fight about the internal conflict that has been tearing him apart for the last 7 years. This is a fight about living up to the expectations of a sane prince, about living up to the man he was destined to be, who his people expected him to be. This is a fight about proving to himself that the countless years he spent training, years of breaking through physical limit, mental barrier after mental barrier, the countless nights alone, pushing himself well past beyond the absolute brink of exhaustion, that it wasn't all for nothing, as it was against Freeza, Cell, and so many times before. For Vegeta, this fight is everything. And he will not allow anything to get in the way of this, not even his new master Babidi. When Babidi attempts to force Vegeta to kill his sworn enemy, the Supreme Kai, Vegeta straight up says, I refuse. Vegeta's will and defiance is palpable, and you can feel it in the intensity of his voice. Vegeta's convictions in what this fight means to him, and his pride in himself as the representative for his extinct race is stronger than any magical possession, and stronger than the chains of his enslaved body. For Saiyans, and specifically Vegeta, battle is one of the main ways they know how to express themselves. For them, it's like a conversation. And for the last 7 years, Vegeta has lived without having a conversation. Goku is the only one that can understand him in this way. Not Gohan, not Trunks, and not even Bulma. In actuality, Vegeta is venting to Goku. Vegeta tells Goku he wants him to feel the humiliation that he's felt. Beginning with his defeat at the hands of Goku, when a low-class Saiyan refused to bow before his royal blood, before the strongest of their race, and then even usurped him. I felt as though everything I had ever believed in or knew to be true was a lie as it crumbled right under my feet, subverting the entire basis from which I've built my life on, the pride in my own strength. Then this same man succeeded where I had failed. He became the Super Saiyan of legend where I could not. Even killed Freeza and avenged my people when I could not. The Goku has taken away everything that Vegeta was destined to do. Even Goku's own offspring had surpassed Vegeta in strength. Goku serves as a constant reminder of what he trained so hard for, of what he should have become. Instead of chasing the strength of Freeza, Vegeta now finds himself chasing the strength of Goku. But it just doesn't make any sense to him. He understands the strength of Freeza, the strength derived from a cold, calculated, and merciless nature. But he just can't understand the strength of Goku. How Goku has always been able to stay one step ahead of him. The battle rages on, and Vegeta continues to vent to Goku. He gives Goku a reason as to why he allowed Babidi to cast his spell on him, why he decided to embrace the darkness once again. He realized that no matter how hard he tried, how hard he pushed his body to its limits and beyond, futility would set in, and he knew he would never be able to catch up. But this time, Vegeta refused to accept this destiny. He refused to die on Namek once again. Through the last 7 years, his fire remained, and it was set ablaze once again upon hearing the whispers of Babidi, tempting him to kill and to destroy again, reminding him how evil he is, and that he needed to return to the man he was before if he ever wanted to redeem that destiny that had died on Namek. The pride he had in himself, that he was destined to be the strongest, but which had also caused him to follow into the footsteps of Freeza. And in a moment of weakness, Vegeta gave in. The prospect of finally acquiring the strength to match Goku was just too tempting to resist. He tells all of this to Goku because he wants someone to understand him. I want him to understand the battle that has been raging inside me between the guilt of my past sins and the peace and humanity of my present. I want him to understand the disappointment, the frustration that I'm feeling, the shame that has been simmering inside of me these last 7 years, the shame that I wasn't able to avenge my people in the end, to live up to my name as the Prince of all Saiyans. A shame that has to be drowned out with excruciating training well past the point of reason. I torture my body as penance towards my father, towards my people, towards myself. Everyone who ever expected me to be the greatest warrior we had to offer. I torture my body to atone. I don't even know what I'm training for anymore. And the shame of a once feared warlord, reduced to a man who would actually find happiness in a peaceful life on Earth and a family. But Goku is the man who knows Vegeta the best, and he doesn't buy it. He calls Vegeta out on his bullshit, which is exactly the response Vegeta needed. The battle between Goku and Vegeta intensifies, with both fighters at an even stalemate. However, Goku stops dead in his tracks after sensing the revival of Buu, the revival that Vegeta caused. Vegeta and Goku call a temporary truce to deal with this new threat. However, instead of joining forces with Goku, Vegeta employs a trick, enabling him to knock Goku unconscious. For once, Vegeta wanted to be the one to save the planet from Buu and succeed where he had previously failed. Vegeta also sensed Buu's ungodly strength, and he knew that even if he and Goku had combined their forces, it still wouldn't be enough. At this time, I believe Vegeta knew that he would have to do something drastic, as he tells Goku that they would have to continue their battle another day when I see you in hell. Vegeta senses that Gohan has been killed and instantly feels regret. And the reality of this situation begins to set in. He apologizes to Goku, another body to add to the weight of the guilt on his shoulders. He then glances towards Goku with a look of sadness and guilt, perhaps thinking how he would feel if he had lost his own son. Vegeta faces off with the monster Buu. However, Buu's visage shifts to the image of Goku. He just can't seem to get Goku out of his head. This image of Goku reminds him of all the instances of where Goku had managed to succeed and he had not. His insecurities pour into his mind and are as clear as ever. For Vegeta, Buu symbolizes another opportunity to redeem his destiny. Instead of having his life saved, he will be the one doing the saving. At this point, Vegeta is willing to sacrifice himself, but he's doing it to prove a point to himself. To prove to himself that he can live up to the man he is trained to be, that others expected him to be like the man he had just vented to and knocked unconscious. No, to surpass him. And defeating Buu would mean just that. However, defeating this monster is no easy task and quickly proves impossible for Vegeta. Yet again, he falls short. He is rendered immobile by Majin Buu and receives the beating of a lifetime, having to be saved by two children, Goten and his own son Trunks. Two children risked their own lives to save him, and were able to repel this monster that he couldn't so much as put a scratch on. Saved by two weak children, a complete inversion of his view that the strong survive and the weak perish. Where is this strength coming from? Yet again, Vegeta's framework crumbles right before him. But when Vegeta physically sees his son, a change is cemented in him. This is the moment Vegeta shifts his focus from himself to others. In the face of this invincible monster, a monster that Vegeta has faced before on Namek, the physical manifestation of Vegeta's philosophy, Vegeta tells his son that he must take good care of his mother. Vegeta sees death, but this time, he is the one peering into its eyes. And things finally begin to clear. The conflict within him finally begins to reconcile. He tells his son and Goten that they must go to a place far away from here. This is a battle Vegeta must face alone. This is the battle Vegeta had been searching for. To finally resolve his inner demons once and for all. To atone for the sins of his past. He brought Buu into this world, and he will be the one to take him out. He tells Trunks that he hasn't held him since he was but a child. Vegeta raised his son in the same way that he was raised. Feelings and emotions are weakness, and weakness will get you killed. Vegeta had probably never even received a hug from his own father. But this time, foreign emotions and love don't seem to bother him anymore. At this time, Vegeta was able to forgive his father, and forgive all those who had burdened him with the weight of the world. And most importantly, he was able to forgive himself for his past sins. He has accepted the peace of the present. The Dark Prince's final words to Goku on Namek were about him, to impart his pride onto Goku, for Goku to take pride of his Saiyan blood, and his duty to take on the dying wish of a past people as he had. But now, Vegeta's final words are to Trunks, and are about Trunks to impart the love of a father. He says he is proud of Trunks. A pride not in his strength or his race, but in his son. He knocks out the last two remnants of his people as Piccolo watches on. And as Piccolo carries the two children off to safety, these two characters who have led a similar path and can relate to each other the most conversate for the first time. Piccolo reminds Vegeta of the certainty of his death if he continues to fight Buu alone. But Vegeta knows that, and death no longer has a grip on his heart, because he's no longer living in the past, in what could have been. He doesn't need to be the strongest. He doesn't need to live up to what others thought he should be. His only concern in the present is protecting those he loves. And at this moment, Vegeta says, "I guess I finally understand you now. Let's go." But he's not talking to Majin Buu. He's talking to Goku. He finally understands why Goku was willing to sacrifice himself against Cell. He finally understands why he's always been one step ahead. And he finally understands where his strength comes from. He realized that the answer was to let go. To let go of his anger. To let go of his pain. To let go of his past. To let go of his pride. And to fight to protect those he loves. To let the feelings of how much you care about those you love be your weapon. And in a flash of light and a smirk on his face, Vegeta gives up his life. He gives up his dream. Gives up his destiny for the sake of his son, Bulma, even Goku, those he loves, and for the love that he has for Earth, his home. In the end, the feelings that Vegeta thought to be his greatest weakness were actually his greatest strength.